test, test.
The staff has said we're ready, so we're going to do the pledge. All right, Sandy, can I get a roll call?
Nathan Parchman,
Here.
Jessica Lott, Stephanie Small
Here.
Jim Campbell, Andrea Foney,
Here.
and Jim Blackburn.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item will be 1.3, approval of minutes from our June meeting. If I can get a motion and a second for those.
So move.
Somebody. Motion? Can I get a second?
Seconded.
All right, there we go, there we go.
Thank you.
Takes a team effort here. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. Motion passes.
Mr.
right.
Chair, Jim Campbell has signed in now and is able to vote tonight. He is ill.
Okay. Welcome, Jim. Hope you get to feeling better. All right, 2.1, Sandy?
Thank you. So this is an annual resolution that we do, and basically what it is doing is authorizing a transfer of reserves and to do budget amendments for what's called our major funds with expenditures in excess of budgeted amounts. And this is for the year ending FY24. So we have two funds in our TIF, Central Park TIF and Scott Troy Road. When we budgeted for these, again, this is based on the amount we get back from our tax increment. So we actually under budgeted for that expense. So the funds are there, but the expense was larger than what we had budgeted. So based on our auditor's recommendation, we go ahead and we do a budget amendment for these two funds and that have exceeded the budget so that way, based on council's approval, that resolution basically says, yep, we approve that budget amendment. Therefore, it will not be cited in the audit report for not following our budget guidelines. So again, this is an annual resolution that we do based on where we end our FY24 for our major expenditures, major funds. So you'll see again, we are 180,000. Is 179,900 and something. I rounded to 180,000 for the Central Park TIF, and then 29,000 for the Scott Troy Road TIF. So I'm seeking a motion to approve this resolution to move forward.
All right, thanks, Sandy. Does anyone on the committee have any questions? Council? Public? All right, if not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call?
Parchman,
Yes.
Smallhere,
Yes.
Foney,
Yes.
Campbell,
yes,
Blackburn.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I will go on to next week's council meeting, or actually it'll be August.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sandy. Then we'll move on to other business, 3.1. I think Grant's going to take this one.
But I would like to add something before we get started,
Yeah.
just before we get into this. Everyone of the governing body, which are our council members, you would have received at 4:12 today an email from our auditor, Grant Beeler. This is just a formality form saying, these are our guidelines that we have to follow, and it's part of their communication so that any significant audit risks the governing body is aware of. It doesn't mean anything. They are here. They'll be finishing this week. But again, it's just a formality that just says you have to be aware that there are significant risks involved in any audit. It doesn't mean they found significant risks. It has to just be communicated to you. Okay, so if you see it, it is a valid email. It's not spam. Thank you.
Thanks for that info. Grant?
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to buy time while Cameron starts sharing his screen. So 12 years ago, we had our last large revision of the city's website. That's had a nice long life. We did some minor updates throughout time, but the last fiscal year we did budget and we completed last week our new website. And so the new website has a lot of new features. It has a new look. I'm going to have Cameron DeWitt, who is our management analyst, go through it. Cameron and our admin intern, Gabby Andrade, had a lot of the legwork, migrating all the content, as well as many other staff members. And so this launched last Tuesday, and I think it launched well with no hiccups. It is kind of still a work in progress, so if you guys see anything, please let us know, or any features you would like. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Cameron to walk you through the new website.
Okay, so Grant gave a pretty good introduction for the website. First off, the migration process, it involves ensuring that 100% of the content is accessible. This is useful for people with visually impaired people using screen readers, and this goes for any new content added to the site as well. So starting with the homepage here, you'll see 5 mega menus: departments, government, community, business, and I want to. So the only change here is the addition of the community mega menu. And basically what this menu is it combined the visitors and the residents section on our old website. So on the left, these are our links to our external sites plus the police department. The circle icons here have mostly stayed the same. The only addition is the maps. We thought this would be a useful tool to promote to the public. Moving down, this is our latest news section. So you'll see here, this is where we'll feature press releases, anything else we want to promote, and other useful tools as well. So going down here to the city calendar, the unique thing about this calendar, as you'll see, is you can subscribe to the calendar. If you go here to the Notify Me section, it allows you to subscribe to for text message and email updates, anything that gets posted, such as an event or a meeting. So on the bottom right here, you'll see the chatbot feature. This is basically an advanced search tool. For example, if you want to type in, let's try jobs, it's going to direct you to the right link. So I don't want to close out of this menu, but it will take you to our recruiting site. So diving into the menus, one thing we want to do is we want to better categorize information. So as you see, most of the menus we try to make more sortable. So we added categories to things. This goes for our community section, and then other things that are more straightforward, we left out the categories for. So we also want to make our content more sustainable. With the old website, a lot of the information was outdated. So we wanted to get rid of the outdated content, and in the same sense, we also wanted to make sure that we can avoid this in the future. So some ways we hope to do this was linking to our external sources. So an example of this is in our community section, linking to our library programs, linking to our parks and recreation programs. That way we don't have to update them on the website and update them on the source as well. It keeps the information more up to date. Another way we wanted to create content that's more sustainable is to actually embed it on the website. So a good example of this is actually our meeting broadcast. So if we go here to meeting broadcast, these are automatically updated based on our YouTube feed. So when tonight's meeting gets published to the our YouTube channel, it'll automatically get updated here, so it doesn't require us to update it in multiple places. So these are just some of the ways that we use to make sure everything stays more up to date. Lastly, there's also some new content as well. So if you go to the community section, you'll see history of O'Fallon. We have some links to regional recreation. I've already mentioned our parks and library programs, and then highlighting some of our public attractions here. So another thing about the website is we have the ability to monitor web traffic. So we think this will be a useful tool going forward in determining what content needs to be featured and how we can make services more accessible. So I think that covers mostly everything. So at this time, if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Anyone have any questions? Or Grant, you want to say anything else about it?
Yeah, so our goal with the website is always to be a virtual town hall to help residents and visitors, businesses not have to call in, not have to come into City Hall in person. Some of the new features like the chat bot in the bottom right are adaptive learning, otherwise known as AI. So as they're used more, it will be better served for the residents. And so in addition to that kind of AI learning, staff has the ability to go in there and do canned messages as well. So if we're seeing a lot of people come in and say sewer bill, we can direct them, are you looking to pay your sewer bill? Are you looking to talk to the sewer division, et cetera? The other thing that we built in with Civic Plus, which is the vendor, is Civic Optimize. It's a form-based system, and so we have built this all in the background. So a lot of the forms that we have used in the past have been either paper or it's been at external sites. Now a lot of them will be embedded directly in the website, which will reduce clicks and confusion. And it also speeds up our internal mechanisms because we can set it up so certain forms will go to the right parties and the right people at the same time. We're able to send them to multiple people. We're able to process payments. And so we're excited about the website. Obviously, we're a week in, so it's been kind of a catch up and figure out anything that didn't come over. But all in all, I've been very happy with Cameron and Gabby's work and the website in general.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the committee or comments?
Just want to say it looks great. I think everything makes sense. It's cleaner. It's nothing but good things to say about it. So
Thank you.
well done, everyone.
And we did get a lot of pictures taken specifically for this website. Cameron had somebody that flew some drone footage. We do all have that for your guys' use. It is our content. We own it. So if you guys want to use it for your own needs, like the sports park right there, obviously we're going to be showing that one a lot. Yeah, he did a fantastic job. One quick comment, you probably all did receive emails, and if you didn't, I wouldn't get too worried about it. You'll still be subscribed. We'll make sure of that. To all your alerts and notifications, when we did import the email list, Due to privacy laws, we have to notify people when we use your information. And so most of you should have received a notification via email to go back in and confirm that you signed up. One thing I do encourage you, if you wish to do so, is take advantage of one of the new features, which is you can receive text messages, which seems like a lot easier way than typical email press releases.
All right, any more questions or comments on the committee? Council? Yeah, Jerry?
Neat thing that Jason and the community development people did about what project is going where. Is that in there?
Yeah, so it's actually on the latest news. It's right there on the bill that you're.
Same thing, you just click on the project and up comes it.
Yep. And we do have a robust mapping system. And so in addition to this Build It Here map, on the homepage there's a hot button that says Maps. You can also look at some of our stormwater projects that are ongoing. And we are working to do all construction projects to get that easily accessible so people can find that on their own. I would say a third of the calls we get here at City Hall start with, I don't know if I'm talking to the right person, but can you direct me? Hopefully this website does a lot of that work for us.
All right, any more questions or comments from the council? Public? Oh, Ron, come on up.
And Ron, yes, we did fix the public documents before.
He's trying to hedge the comment.
Question I had, when you're talking about resubscribing, do citizens have to resubscribe then for notices on meetings?
That is correct. You should have.
On Thursday, I got an email.
You should have, and you should have clicked,
It didn't
yes,
say
I did
anything.
subscribe. Just
All I
by,
saw was it said view the agendas and everything else. I didn't notice anything that said resubscribe.
so we still do send out agendas through Constant Contact.
Right.
And so you'll see those emails still from its original sender.
And
These-
don't have to go back and then resubscribe.
You do not have
Okay,
to.
that's what my question was. Those, that there's agendas out there to view.
Yep, like the mayor's column and press releases and that stuff that comes directly from the website.
Got it. All right. Thanks.
Some of the other features that not mentioned and not employed right now with this website would be other emergency alert programs. Use
All right, I have 6 o'clock. We're going to start the community development meeting. If I could have a roll call, please.
Yes, Todd Roach,
Here.
Jim Campbell.
Is he online?
Yeah,
He's muted, but he is
Here.
there you go. Jerry Albrecht. Here. Tom Vorse. Here. Nathan Parchman. Here. Stephanie Small here.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Awesome, thank you. 1.3, approval of minutes from the June 24th meeting.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on this? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, that's approved. First item up, 2.1, ordinance amending ordinance 623 zoning for 1410 Christnick Drive and 520 South Seven Hills Road, consisting of 17.54 acres.
Yes, so the first agenda item is a requested rezoning of 17.54 acres from SR1 to rural residential. This property is located just north of the First Baptist Church of O'Fallon. It does just west of Rock Springs Park along Seven Hills Road. There are 2 single-family houses currently located on the property. It does consist of 5 parcels, which they are working towards cleaning up to just 2. And what has triggered this is they would like to build a second large accessory structure. And under the SR1 district, there are some pretty tight restrictions in terms of size of structures. And if you really look at the property here, 17 acres versus a single family general zoning of SR1, the minimum lot size of that district is 10,000 square feet. So that's like basically a quarter acre. It's just a very different part of the O'Fallon area. It is low density residential on the future land use map, which is the rural residential is an allowed zone district in that designation. As for the rural residential district, they are required to have a minimum of 1 acre lots. And the premise of that zone district is to preserve areas of rural character around the city. It does allow for limited animals, but and the applicants are here. In the Planning Commission meeting, they indicated that they really don't care for the animals as a part of this approval, and really that this is about getting a larger accessory structure for storing of their RVs. In terms of conformity with the master plan, as I mentioned, the low-density residential does allow for rural residential zoning districts. The site, if zoned to rural residential, does meet all the area bulk requirements for that district and would not have a significant impact on traffic or affect negatively adjacent properties. Planning Commission and staff both recommended approval to the rezoning of the property to rural residential.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Where would the building projected be placed? The properties are beautiful, both of them are, but is it going to be back behind in the green grass?
Yeah, so in the Planning Commission meeting and in meetings with the applicants, their proposal on the aerial here, you can see the large accessory structure in between the 2 houses. It would be next to that accessory structure.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Yes, Jerry.
If there was any opportunity to further development this, then they would have to come back and get it rezoned into residential, right?
Correct, yeah, I mean, theoretically, they could take those lots and turn them into
Well,
1
yeah,
acre
there's
lots
5
if they
lots.
wanted to. But yeah, if they wanted to go more dense than 1 acre, they would have to come back for a rezoning.
Anything from the council? Yes.
On the RR, there's no restrictions on what type of building or structure they build?
So they still have to meet building code, right? So it needs to have a foundation, it's gonna have to have siding and all that sort of stuff. The rural residential does allow for like metal siding for that kind of building.
Pole barn, right?
Well, yeah, kinda-ish. It still has to be on footings and foundations, so a typical pole barn just is on dirt, so that's not allowed.
All right, any other questions from the council? Yes, Ross?
I just asked Justin earlier, I don't have a question or make a comment, that I didn't understand why the zoning change as opposed to just requesting a variance. If he's not interested in developing additional houses or having a bunch of farm animals or whatever, then why not just request a variance? Justin explained to me.
Sure.
The requirements for the variance is to show a hardship, and this particular request doesn't meet the reasons for the hardship.
Right. Correct. Yep.
All right, thank you for sharing. Any other from the public? All right, then I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the committee? Hearing none, roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Vorse,
Yes.
Parchman,
Yes.
Smallhair,
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
All right. So this will move to City Council on August 5th for first reading, back to Community Development on the 12th for second reading, and Council for final passage on August 19th.
All right, thank you. On a 2.2 ordinance amending ordinance 623 zoning development known as DP Golf Indoors located at 1334 Central Park Drive, Suite 7.
Yes, so this is a request for planned use to allow for video gaming at DP Golf's Indoor. The property is RA Zone B1 for various reasons. I think one was for a restaurant, the other for video gaming previously. The location is just west of Marcus Theaters. It's in the Sunrise Center Commercial Plaza, right at Hartman and Central Park. Regional commercial is the designation on the future land use map. Just a bit of background on the request. So the ordinances require a business to be in operation for 2 years prior to applying for a planned use to add video gaming as a use inside a business. In July of 2022, DP Golf's opened and obtained their pour liquor license. The occupancy permit has remained in good standing, as is the current liquor license. Again, Zone B1 Plan District, Plan Community Business District, and as I mentioned, the planned use is required to permit these video gaming terminals. And then it does meet the conformity with the 2040 master plan and the zoning ordinances. There's no change to the building or anything like that. So staff and the planning commission have recommended approval of the planned use with the following condition, that it is approved in accordance with the requirements of Chapter 121, which outlines all the requirements of video gaming.
All right, thank you. So I do have one question. So do they serve food and drink there?
Yeah, Dan Politis is here. They do have food and beverages available at the location.
I'm just curious, it doesn't list, because I know one of the requirements is that you have to have 50% or more of your revenue has to derive from food and drink sales.
Yep.
So
he's going to have to, so if approved, he would have to, obviously he's going to have video gaming in there, and then the administration department gets information from both the business as well as the state in terms of revenues from video gaming, and then obviously from the business they have to submit their revenues from food and beverage, and then those are compared, and then they're put on notice if they aren't meeting those requirements, and licenses can be pulled if they don't meet the 50%. I believe we pulled licenses, one license before, so yeah, it's just it's a process of getting information and then determining if they have that 50%, and then if they do, great. If they don't, their licenses can be pulled.
Do we know now what the revenue sales of food and drink is? Because gaming machines can bring in quite a bit of money, and if there's other revenue being produced that isn't food and drink, to make that 50% would may be difficult.
Yeah, so it's only food and beverage. So like if you go in there and you're just playing golf, right, or taking a lesson, that doesn't count towards his revenue. So it has to be food and beverage.
And do we have a sense of that already, what that's been reported?
Yes, we do. We have historical data of his food and beverage sales. That is submitted to us for food and beverage tax. What we don't have is revenue for his gaming terminals. The applicant was provided an estimate on the average that each gaming terminal does produce. And so he was informed of that before this application was
Do we
submitted.
have a sense of what that average is compared to what the sales of the food are?
We have an average of the gaming terminal's revenue citywide, but I can't disclose the applicant's food and beverage revenue under IDOR stipulations. But again, we've informed him that this is a requirement for his application. And if you guys remember, we did pass the video gaming update not long ago that says if the license is revoked, he would not be able to reapply for it until the next May 1.
Okay. I understand you can't disclose, and maybe you can if you want to. My concern is just approving this knowing that it's not possible to ever meet that amount, and then we're just going to have to, and then it's administrative burden to follow up and potentially revoke it in the future.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg thing here. Remember, this is just the planned use.
Sure.
It's just zoning, and I mean that's kind of part of administration's job is to make sure that they're following the rules set in place. So we had similar line of questioning with the Planning Commission. I just wanted to remind them, like, what's before you tonight is whether or not this is an appropriate location for video games. So that, I just kind of, a reminder of that.
Any other questions from the committee? Council?
Other than fraternal organizations, do we have any other businesses that are approved for gaming that are not bar, restaurant types?
I mean, like St. Clair Bowl has them. I mean, that's kind of a similar type facility. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just kind of clarification from your conversation on the dais. So I get what we're voting on tonight. If that's approved, Justin, then that's when the threshold has to be presented to show that the 50% is there.
So tonight you're voting on the zoning, as Justin mentioned. The next process would be the applicant comes to the city to apply for his gaming license. And so we do charge per unit. And so he would decide, do I want to get a license for 1 unit or up to 6? And then once those get turned on, the state starts collecting the information. And what they do is they say the NTI tax, so that's net terminal income. So it's revenue in minus revenue out, or cost out, winnings out. You divide that by 50%. That's the establishment's take on each gaming terminal. Misty McDonald in the clerk's office will look at that. As the reports come in, she'll match up the month and she'll say, your food and beverage sales were less than your gaming terminal. We will put a notice to the applicant or to the owner at that time and say, they will be reviewed, and if they're not, then your license will be removed. And they won't have an ability to reapply and receive a license until the next May 1.
So any business then would get the gaming machines first, and from that point, you'd have the historical data of, do they meet the 50%?
Correct. We cannot apply revenue generated on other gaming terminals to the applicant. So we can't take just an average across the city and say, you are not going to meet it. We have to wait until the actual information comes in from the state.
Okay, I was a little misunderstood. I thought that the applicant would have to show his food and
Any other questions from the council?
I'll just make one comment.
Sure.
Misty does review all that. We do look at it, and we have revoked some items. So if they don't use what they're supposed to do, we will get revoked.
Thank you. All right. From the public? All right. Then do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Vorse,
Yes.
Parchman,
Yes.
Smallhair,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
All right, this will go through the same process as outlined before.
All right. Next up is 2.3, resolution adopting the Forward 50 Great Streets Initiative Plan.
Yeah, so kind of a awesome night to celebrate a lot of hard work that went in for the past year. Corey Scott from RDG Planning and Design made the trek from Des Moines today to celebrate with us as we work towards adoption of this plan. And he was so kind to come in, and he's going to kind of give us a brief overview of the process and the plans, and then I'll kind of wrap it up with how do we move forward after this. And so it's exciting. And so, Corey, I'll turn it over to you and let you get started.
Great, thank you, Justin. And I also want to do a special thanks to both Justin and Jeff for being, considering all this time over the last 10, 12 months towards this project. So thank you for all your hard work and really appreciate it. It's more than just me on this project. There was a team of planners, engineers, market analysts, people who specialize in public facilitation as well. So we had a large team, and it was part of East West Gateway's Council of Governments Great Streets Initiative. And I really love this program in that it identifies ways of more than just getting people from A to Z, but also how to build a city at the same time, how to build a community. And so the study area that we have, it goes from Interstate 64 to Scott Troy Road. And as we look at that area, it has a number of different personalities. And so when you look at the report, it's breaking it down to individual segments. We had a lot of help in coming up with a number of the recommendations. And with that, we had about 410 people that came to in-person meetings. And that was, we also had about 11 public meetings. Over 2,000 people visited the project website and considered provided their ideas and concerns. And so a lot of public input as we went into the planning process. So on the west end, Staten Spur, what we're looking at here is the spur goes right into downtown, and it's one of the major pieces where the highway really becomes more of an urban corridor. One of the major recommendations that we're seeing here on this side is that on the north side, we're having a shared use path. On the south side, we have a sidewalk. One of the bigger components here is, again, thinking about this elevated highway, super elevation of Highway 50, and thinking about how could access be given to the area that's just southwest of that in the future if that area were ever to develop. It reconciles a lot of conflict points, and then also creates opportunities for possibly some new development too. Heading a little bit further east to Greenmount. This particular segment, we're seeing a lot of new development opportunities, particularly on the north side. So you'll see just west of the Scott Credit Union, some development projects. The number one thing that we're thinking about with this area is that as it develops is that it has its own internal network of traffic. So people who are going to, say, the Scott Credit Union or whatever businesses that's there, that they don't have to immediately go on to 50 to go to their hotel, for example. So all that must be connected. You'll see that there's kind of like some yellow dots happening throughout the west, all the way from the west to the east. Those are stormwater management techniques, and those are areas where we need to do a little bit more focus. The red is representing possibly new commercial development. The yellows and oranges are representing more of multifamily townhouse development. So increasing the density as we get closer to 50. number of different opportunities there. And this is one way that it looks like in a perspective view. Again, that shared use path on the north side connecting from the sports park to the recplex, and a continuous sidewalk along the south side. Further east, as we get to 3rd and Cambridge, we have the concrete plant, and so with its potential redevelopment someday, perhaps, thinking of it being more residential use, as everything to the west and to the east of it is residential, perhaps including a new road that connects 3rd to State, which would provide a lot more access to even downtown. You are also seeing a possible reuse of the fire station, and just adjacent to that, the creek, and a possibility of improving that creek with more stormwater management, also with a trail that connects up to the Illinois Trail. So that would connect Highway 50 all the way up to the Illinois Trail and beyond. Moving a little bit further east, going to Marie Schaefer. Here we're getting to the schools, a lot of more younger traffic. We're also seeing that it's getting down to a 2-lane section. Here, what we're identifying and recommending is a provisional 3rd lane in there, so 3rd lane churning lane. And then in that, we would also have some pedestrian medians, and those are refuges where people in the south neighborhoods can go up to the school, but in those pedestrian refuges, it's not just a straight across, it has to do a zigzag. So as you go across, you take a right, you're making eye contact with that driver so that you have a safer way to go across. Also looking at, say, like Cherry Street or Oak Street, right now they have like an acute intersection, reconciling that so it's more of a perpendicular and having better sight lines. Also, you're seeing where Cherry Street and Maryland Drive, just to the south, closing that component off to make sure that the neighborhood traffic remains as the neighborhood traffic, and also just eliminating some very confusing and uncomfortable points of conflict. And then we get into the Lincoln Avenue. This is the part where we go up to downtown, and thinking about the current intersection. We went through a number of different scenarios for this. As we went and designed a number of the different types of solution, ultimately a roundabout was the best. It solves a lot of the problems that we have here. And the other thing is that we can see that we can have some sort of shared use path on either the west side or the east side that connects all the way from downtown to further south to the library and beyond. The Southview area is one of those areas where clearly right now there's a lot of vacancy. There's a proposed Starbucks on that site. With this, we went through a number of different scenarios. Ultimately, we looked at, if you look at the aerial photo, it doesn't seem like there's a substantial amount of land in the remaining balance after the Starbucks is developed, but looking at some mixed-use development. The important component here is as development proposals are brought forward is that the circulation just makes sense. And making sure that customers know how to get in and out of the site. Looking at Lincoln Avenue, the biggest component with this is looking at the streetscape and connecting downtown to Highway 50. And there's several different contexts on the north side where that would shift around a little bit. But thinking about it, when you're going around that roundabout or that intersection and then facing north, making sure that it's already creating an announcement that downtown you're heading towards downtown. That shared use path can also go on either side, on the south side of Lincoln, all the way further south, so on either side. Going a little bit further west, we've got a number of access points that are on the south side. The plan proposes a continuous sidewalk on that south side, and thinking about how to connect the activities at the park, particularly with all the new investments that are happening, to the businesses to the south. And so, again, creating the connection between public spaces and businesses and doing it in a safely way by introducing additional pedestrian medians. Another piece is making sure that we connect those individual parking lots so that customers can conveniently go from one property to the next. Going further east to the high school, again, more of these pedestrian refuges and looking at how do we improve that safety for people of all ages. Now over to Scott Troy. This area has much more opportunities for development. Maybe the market's not there right now, but when these individual sites, so like here, nor near the Recplex when there's a development proposal there. It's just ensuring that there's a master plan that shows connectivity, and at least in this component, looking at a very heavy emphasis on pedestrian connections. Here in this segment right that I'm showing there, as I'm circling it, thinking more about multifamily. Again, if that area were ever to have a development proposal, thinking about these circulation patterns that connects properties to each other. And then on the south side too, you know, with Country Lane, Country Oaks Lane, and then going over to Corporate Crossing. So again, circulation is a really key component for this area. Now, I think there was a couple options I could have given you, which was reading the 300-page document or sharing this in about, I hope, 5-minute presentation to give you a little bit of an overview of everything that was involved with the process. It's been a real privilege to work on this, and I find it to be a real privilege to represent the team, to share all the progress that we made. One thing that I'm particularly excited about is that first kickoff meeting, we filled up this room with seats of people who are just very interested in the future of the corridor. So I think it shows a lot of enthusiasm and curiosity to what the future of this area could be like. So thank you on behalf of the team.
Awesome.
Thanks. So, as I mentioned, and Corey and his staff worked with us to identify a number of projects that we took out to polling. And so we had 11 projects that the city has ownership in, right, that we could address and make improvements to the corridor. And through polling and, you know, talking with you guys, our planning commission's staff, we came up with a top 5 projects. And then after that top 5, some of our key staff in implementation sat down as a group, and I wanted to go through with you guys how we are going to address these top 5, which includes a shared use path on the north side of Highway 50, the roundabout at Highway 50 in Lincoln, a streetscape for Lincoln Avenue to the downtown district, pedestrian crossings at Community Park, and continuous sidewalks on the south side of Highway 50. So in terms of the new shared use path, staff is working on a grant application for federal or for state funding called ITEP. And what we are going to do as we've kind of dug into that grant cycle and funding mechanisms, in the past we had a shared use path from Country Oak Lane down to Seven Hills. We've applied for that twice and we have not been granted that. And so as Jeff and I were looking through that, he was on a webinar and said, hey, they're scoring these things to higher if you're connecting community assets. And so what we decided to do is expand that phase all the way from the Recplex, where the shared use path already exists, all the way to Community Park, where Andrew just finished up his walking trail along the perimeter. So we're hoping that that scores a little bit better. And we are utilizing $125,000 that we had in the budget to begin engineering work on that, because you also score better if you have plans on the shelf ready to go. So we're excited about that piece. Hopefully that's a really big stretch. It does include a bridge across the creek there just past the First Baptist Church, but really connects, I mean, if you think about it, connects Community Park, the high school, Schnucks, because I did mention grocery stores as a prime example, and the Recplex to an area that doesn't have any pedestrian accommodations. As for, and part of that, with the roundabout at Highway 50 in Lincoln, we are utilizing the $100,000 that we had budgeted into the budget for implementation of this plan to begin a detailed analysis to make sure that the traffic circle, the roundabout can fit in that location, that it you know, the traffic as it's designed will work with a roundabout. That, you know, the plan that was just completed, it had preliminary findings of all this stuff. We want to get into the details of it, making sure that this is the correct path forward. So we'll be utilizing some of that money to do that. And then begin identifying funding sources to address and develop plans for this. The Lincoln Avenue streetscape, we actually submitted today for a grant for rebuilding downtowns and main streets. It's up to a $2 million award. We had applied for this last cycle. I think it was 2 years ago. We did not obviously get awarded that, but we're hopeful with the plan that we now have and a little bit more detail that we can get that award from the state. And then for the pedestrian crossing at Community Park, part of that $100,000 that we'll use at the roundabout study, we will also utilize that money to look at some basic designs of what this would entail. How does it fit in that location? Jeff mentioned starting to do some survey work to understand exactly how it would all fit. And then as a part of this, there is some gaps on the south side of Highway 50. So this, if we can get this project moving forward, those would include filling those gaps on the south side of the highway as well. So, you know, it's pretty ambitious to tackle 5 of these projects all kind of at once. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but we feel like we can take some big first steps this budget year already. So, if you have any questions, Corey and I are here to answer them, and yeah, we're looking forward to implementing this plan.
Awesome. Well, first, great work. I think it's awesome that we were able to bring as many people together and get the ideas and come up with some, which sound like some really great solutions. And I guess some of this, whether it be the roundabout size or any of that, or where these crossings are, that's kind of just placeholders now until we could do the actual study to see what makes the most sense.
Yep. And that's kind of that's kind of where Jeff and I are at. It's like, okay, this gives us the idea. Now let's finalize a detailed study to make sure we can get them to work. And obviously all of this is IDOT jurisdiction too, so we're navigating that process as well. So as I mentioned, it's going to take time, but you know, some of these may never happen, like the spur redesign, right? I mean, that's going to be predicated on HSHS St. Elizabeth wanting access at Highway 50. We're not going to go do that without them needing that access. But yeah, it's exciting, and we'll kind of get into the weeds of how do we implement this, where's the best location and all that stuff.
And one of the things you mentioned was interconnectivity of some of the parking lots. And I know we do that now in our ordinance. Of course, a lot of these buildings were built long before that was a requirement. Do we have the ability to go back and make those connections now, or is that just basically something we have to hope that the current owners agree to?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is, you know, sitting down, like even this pedestrian crossing, right? It's going to require closing some access points on the south side of Highway 50. And so really having conversations, bringing those owners and businesses in, like, hey, if we close off this access, how can we help accommodate getting people to your business, right? So maybe we look at allowing like a monument sign that has all the businesses. And so I think it can even, you know, we may have to give up a little bit of something to get them to cooperate, but
be a little creative.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. Any other comments, questions from the committee? From the council? From the public? I thought for sure there'd be more.
That's just because
You've done
everything
You've
we
done
can.
so
Yeah,
so
that's
much
right.
great work explaining it. There's no question. That's what I would take away from it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
So yeah, so we'll look for a motion from committee to approve the resolution, and then it'll go to council should you guys
Okay.
deem it.
So move.
Second. All right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tom Vorse,
Yes.
Nathan Parchman,
Yes.
Stephanie Small here,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Jerry Albrecht, and Todd Roach.
Yes.
All right, so as I mentioned, this will just be a resolution on August 5th.
All right. Thank you. And then any highlights you want to show from the May and June community development reports?
No, they're just for informational purposes. Apologize for being a month behind, but here
Well,
we are.
we haven't met in a month. So.
Yeah, so.
All right. With that, I would open it up for any additional public comment. Any additional public? Yes, sir.
Ron Zelms, Ward 6. I was going to speak about the Highway 50 project, but it really goes south of that. A safe pedestrian way to get across Lincoln from Pierce to Dartmouth or Dartmouth to Pierce. I mean, if you can do it on Highway 50, hopefully you can do it there. I've seen too many times when I pull out and head south on Lincoln, people trying to get across that street and nobody stops. So keep that in mind as you're doing safe crossings, that I really think that is one area that really needs to get looked at to get across Lincoln at that area. Thanks.
Thank you. And I know as part of the Pierce they're looking for a shared use path there, and then maybe some ideas of connecting that with the new development there that has a walking trail that goes behind the school.
Correct.
So that may be something that will come in the, definitely future with some of this. So thank you. All right. Any other comments? All right. Hearing none, I'd give a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Just a reminder, there are no committee meetings or council meetings next week. So take the night off.
Again.
We've already sent the cancellation out.